Imagine this: a wedding day gone wrong, a hidden agenda, and a man who's so deep in his delusions that nothing will make him snap out of it. But just when you think you know how this crazy story is gonna unfold, bam! There's a twist that'll leave you questioning everything. You're about to hear a tale full of shock, mystery, and some major jaw-dropping moments. But before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Dropping a like and a comment is the least you can do to show some love. And like we always say, even if some stories seem the same, they ain't never the same when I'm the one telling them. The movie kicks off with Paul, a guy who's just married his dream girl, Sophia. Everything looks perfect, like one of those cheesy wedding commercials. But hold on, Paul's about to take us on a flashback trip to the 90s. It turns out Sophia's a big-time singer, and Paul, well, he's her crazy #1 fan. One night, Paul shows up at her mansion all dressed up, holding a rose like he's in some rom-com. But here's the twist: Sophia's bodyguard, Belle, looks less than thrilled. Why? Oh, because this isn't Paul's first creepy visit. He's so delusional, he honestly believes Sophia's his girlfriend. Belle isn't having it, though. He tells Paul to leave, or else he'll call the cops. A delusional fan thinking he's the hero? That's a red flag. Paul finally apologizes and starts to leave, making Belle think the nightmare's over. But then, the doorbell rings again. Belle opens the door, and there's Paul, holding a knife to his own throat like it's some twisted reality show. He threatens to end it all. Belle tries talking sense into him, but Paul's mind is slipping further. He starts thinking Belle is Sophia, pulling out an imaginary ring and proposing to the confused bodyguard. Belle, stuck in this insane moment, plays along because what else can he do? Paul's over the moon, talking about wedding plans and moving in for a hug like he's about to get his happily ever after. But then, out of nowhere, Paul stabs Belle in the gut, leaving him to bleed out while Paul happily skips into the mansion, completely oblivious to the chaos he just caused. Sophia's not home, but Paul doesn't seem to care. He sneaks into her studio, plays her piano like he's the next Mozart, and even soaks in her bathtub, acting like he's on top of the world. Meanwhile, poor Belle is lying outside, barely clinging to life. He finally passes out, just as the sound of police sirens start wailing through the night. It's too little, too late for him. 6 months later, we jump to Sophia, lounging at her mansion with her casual fling, Rhodes, a famous basketball player. The scene feels so calm, but you can already tell that things are about to spiral out of control again. Sophia gets a call from her assistant, Kaylor, who drops a bombshell. Belle's back. He's all healed up and ready to return as her bodyguard. Sophia can't help but rush over to him, giving him a big hug, showing just how close they are. It's sweet, like a reunion of old friends. Next, we meet a tough guy named JH. As he's introduced, we hear Paul's voice in a voiceover, giving him instructions. He asks JH to grab a parcel from the post office and get ready for their next move. Paul's got something big planned, and you can feel the tension building already. Paul is pumped up, thanking JH for being part of the big journey he and Sophia are about to take together. But while Paul's planning his next move, Sophia and Rhodes are out having fun. They hit a lively pub, dancing and letting loose in the carefree vibe of the night. Back at home, Belle is watching the news when he hears the shocking update. Paul has escaped from the mental facility, and he's not alone. He's got another patient with him, Penny. Belle's worried, and the panic sets in. He quickly leaves his daughter Abby with her aunt Eleanor and rushes to Sophia's mansion, knowing things are about to get chaotic. Elsewhere, Paul is meeting up with JH, grinning from ear to ear. Alongside him is Penny, just as wild as Paul, who he proudly introduces as his assistant. Meanwhile, Sophia gets a call from Belle and rushes home. But when she walks in, she's stunned to see cops all over her mansion. Belle quickly fills her in, telling her that Paul broke out of the mental facility just 2 hours ago. Meanwhile, the crazy trio is driving through the night. Penny, ever the observant one, notices JH's strange eye. Paul, without missing a beat, casually explains it's from a parasitic infection, because that's totally normal, right? The trio pulls up to an old man's house, and Penny steps out, knocking on the door. She plays the sweet damsel in distress, saying her car broke down and asking to use the phone. The kind old man, thinking he's helping, offers to check her car. But as he turns around, Penny's smile is anything but friendly. Back at home, Eleanor is doing her chores when she looks outside and freezes. There's JH, and the terror hits her right away. She quickly calls Belle, telling him what she saw. Belle, already on edge, tells her to call the cops and rushes to make sure Sophia and her family are safe. He tells Rhodes to lock up the mansion, then runs off, ready to protect his loved ones. Soon after, Eleanor is visited by a goofy police officer. She nervously tells him about the strange man she saw lurking outside, but the officer just shrugs it off, saying everything's fine. He even mentions he has an audition for a musical tomorrow, like that's the biggest problem right now. Eleanor, however, isn't having it. She refuses to let him leave and insists he stay outside, keeping watch for their safety, even if he's more concerned concerned about his big audition. She's not taking any chances. Back at the mansion, a security guard is watching the CCTV cameras when he spots something strange. A big trunk sitting outside. Curious, he heads out to check it out, but just as he steps outside, the lights go out, and the whole mansion falls into darkness. Panic, he hurries back to his room. Inside, Sophia lights a few candles to try and see, while Rhodes, looking concerned, asks her where the circuit panel is. She has no idea, so Rhodes grabs the candles and decides to go find it himself. He's not waiting around for anyone. Meanwhile, in the monitor room, the guard is rummaging through some tools when suddenly, Penny appears behind him, her face twisted with craziness. She grabs a flashlight and starts choking him, but he doesn't just give up. He fights back, pushing her away for a moment. The two struggle, flipping the situation back and forth like a bad wrestling match. But in the end, Penny gets the upper hand and finishes him off using a microwave. Because why not, right? Sophia, now all alone in the mansion, quickly locks every door and window, trying to stay safe. She lights a candle, and just as she does, we see a shadowy figure silently standing behind her. Her heart races as she realizes she's not alone. Meanwhile, Rhodes has finally found the power circuit, and just like that, the mansion is filled with light again. But before Sophia can catch her breath, Paul appears out of nowhere, wrapping his arms around her. He apologizes, saying he's sorry for leaving her for so long. Sophia, completely panicked, pushes him away and starts grabbing anything she can find in the kitchen to hit him with. It's like she's fighting for her life. Rhodes, still in the garage, hears the noise and rushes toward the house. Sophia, desperate, sprints for the front door. She's so close to reaching the latch, but her fingers just miss it by a few inches. Before she can get a grip, Paul slams her into the glass door, knocking her out cold. Rhodes watches from the other side, unable to do anything but stand there, completely helpless. Elsewhere, Belle finally gets home but doesn't notice the goofy police officer who was supposed to be keeping watch. In a hurry, he tells his family to pack their bags, insisting they need to get to the police station right away. The scene then flashes back just a minute earlier. We see the officer outside, still rehearsing for his big musical audition, completely clueless. Suddenly, he notices someone's stolen the chain from his bicycle. Just as he's distracted, JH sneaks up behind him. Without warning, JH strangles the officer with the chain, landing a few heavy punches to silence him once and for all. Afterward, JH drags the lifeless body and hides it, like it's just another forgotten mess to clean up. In the present, Belle and his family hurry into the car, but to their shock, JH is already waiting for them. With a gun aimed right at Belle, he demands that Belle hand over his weapon. Without a choice, Belle obeys, and JH orders him to drive straight toward Sophia's mansion. A little while later, Sophia wakes up, only to find herself locked in her recording booth with Paul sitting right in front of her. He's talking non-stop about their upcoming wedding like nothing's wrong. Sophia tries to calm him down, hoping to make him see sense. She gently tells him that he's deeply traumatized. She explains that he lost his girlfriend at one of her concerts, which sent him spiraling. But Paul isn't ready to face the truth. He shuts her down, leaving Sophia feeling frustrated and helpless. Elsewhere, a desperate Belle begs JH to let his family go, asking if he can handle the situation himself instead. But JH isn't having it. He gets annoyed and suddenly tells the driver to stop the car. JH then drags Belle a few meters away, making him kneel on the side of the road. Without a second thought, JH ruthlessly shoots him. The loud music blasting from the car drowns out the sound of the gunshot, so Belle's family doesn't hear a thing. Afterward, JH walks back to the car and forces Eleanor to keep driving toward Sophia's mansion. Elsewhere, Paul excitedly introduces Sophia to Penny, bragging that Penny sings and plays piano just like her. He leaves the two women alone to bond, thinking they'll get along perfectly, while he heads off to prepare for the big wedding. Paul gets dressed in a fancy suit, his face lighting up with a twisted smile as he opens a package to reveal a shiny, fancy dagger. With a sinister grin, he walks downstairs to greet Eleanor and Abby, who are being forced to be guests at his strange and terrifying wedding. On the other hand, Penny shows Sophia the wedding dress, going on about how beautiful Sophia's body and skin are, but she quickly adds a twist, saying she thought the singer would be more beautiful. Sophia, quick on her feet, seizes the chance to ask the crazy girl to grab her makeup bag from the bathroom, claiming it'll fix her face. Penny, eager to please, rushes off to get it. As soon as she's gone, Sophia sneaks out of the recording booth and grabs a guitar. She hides behind the door, ready to strike when Penny returns. But her plan takes an unexpected turn when she's shocked to find Rhodes, not Penny, collapsed unconscious instead. In the living room, Paul eagerly tells Abby that he wants her to be the flower girl and that JH has already picked out a dress for her. But Abby, being curious, hears strange noises coming from the trunk and asks, "Is someone inside?" Paul, with a smile, tells her she can open it. When she does, she's shocked to find the old man from earlier, the one Penny asked for help and then attacked. It turns out he's a priest that Paul kidnapped to officiate his crazy, twisted wedding to Sophia. On the other side, Sophia finally wakes Rhodes and quickly apologizes for hitting him earlier. But before they can talk more, Penny suddenly bursts in, and the two women fight fiercely. During the struggle, Penny knocks into a piano, but instead of stopping, she starts playing it and even invites Sophia to sing with her. Sophia is confused, but can't help but be drawn in by Penny's beautiful, angelic voice. She finds herself joining in, caught in the strange duet. Meanwhile, Rhodes finally wakes up, but he's completely confused about everything going on. Before he can process anything, Penny suddenly stops singing, slaps Sophia for being off-key, and throws both women onto the balcony. They start fighting again, and in the middle of their struggle, Penny grabs a can of flammable liquid and tries to light Sophia on fire with a match. But Sophia doesn't back down. She quickly grabs a sharp object and uses it to defend herself. Then she pours the flammable liquid on Penny, ready to strike. Penny taunts her, daring Sophia to light the match and burn her. However, Sophia hesitates, knowing she can't kill someone no matter how crazy they are. Sophia rushes to check on Rhodes and quickly tries to call the cops for help. But just as she picks up the phone, Penny suddenly reappears and attacks her once again. The two women tumble into another brutal fight, and this time, Sophia manages to shove the injured Penny into the recording booth. Sophia, now cold and determined, shows no mercy. She lights a piece of paper on fire and throws it through the booth window. Within seconds, Penny is surrounded by flames. Sophia watches, horrified, as the fire grows. Soon, the guilt sets in, and she rushes to grab the fire extinguisher, but it's already too late. Penny is burned beyond recognition. In the living room, the priest tries to talk some sense into Paul. He tells him that he's not thinking clearly and that none of this is real. But Paul refuses to listen and storms upstairs to check on Sophia. Meanwhile, Sophia is taking care of Rhodes, who is barely conscious. He weakly tells her that he saw a little girl earlier when he snuck in. This worries Sophia, and she quickly decides to leave Rhodes alone for a moment while she searches for the child. Sometime later, Paul finally arrives looking for Sophia, but instead, he comes face to face with Rhodes. In his confused state, Paul mistakes Rhodes for Sophia and starts giving him strange compliments. He even pulls out his fancy dagger and proudly talks about how important it is. As Rhodes stares at him in complete disbelief, Paul unexpectedly kisses him, leaving Rhodes completely confused and unsure of what just happened. Meanwhile, Sophia nervously asks Abby where her dad is in the living room. In a flashback, we learn that JH, who has one eye, wasn't sure if the bodyguard was dead or alive. The scene then switches to the next morning, where Kaylor finds Bell lying on the side of the road and helps wake him up. It turns out the bullet only grazed his head, and he's still alive. Bell quickly gets into Kaylor's car and drives off toward the mansion, ready to do whatever it takes. When Bell arrives, he sees the mansion in total chaos, with no one around. He stumbles across a wedding invitation and quickly realizes they've already left. The next scene shows everyone at the church, getting ready for the wedding. Bell is on his way there too, and calls the cops in a hurry. Inside the church, Sophia stands ready to marry Paul, but it's clear she's doing it out of fear. Paul, still stuck in his delusional world, mistakes Sophia for someone else and asks her to sit down while he waits for his bride to arrive. The ceremony starts, and Abby walks down the aisle as the flower girl, tossing invisible flowers. But the room falls silent in shock when Rhodes walks in wearing the wedding dress. Just then, Bell arrives too, and he takes Rhodes's hand, walking him down the aisle. After leaving Rhodes at the altar, Bell greets the guests and quietly slips a knife into Sophia's hand, his actions filled with meaning. As the priest starts the ceremony, JH suddenly interrupts, telling Paul that his bride is actually a black man, not Sophia. But Paul doesn't listen to him and tells him to be quiet. The priest continues, announcing the two as husband and wife. Paul, excited, kisses Rhodes, and the scene flashes back to the beginning, where Paul was marrying Sophia. It's now clear that everything happening is just in his mind, as Rhodes is standing there instead of Sophia. After kissing for a long time, Paul suddenly loses control and drives his dagger into Rhodes's stomach, causing him to fall to the ground. Everyone gasps in shock, but Bell quickly grabs the chance and knocks Paul to the ground. Then, Bell forces JH's face into the water as Paul watches, helpless to stop it. A few moments later, Sophia steps forward and grabs Paul's dagger. This is when Paul finally sees her and nervously apologizes. But before he can say more, Sophia kicks him hard in the face. Out of nowhere, JH grabs Abby and presses a gun to her head. He angrily orders Bell to drop the dagger and hand it over. The terrified father obeys, begging JH to let his daughter go. But just when it feels like there's no hope left, in a surprising move, the wounded Rhodes slashes JH's throat, taking down the big man for good. Meanwhile, Paul is still lost in his fantasy. Imagine imagining himself and Sophia happily walking away from the church as newlyweds. Later, the police finally arrive at the scene. Sophia turns to Rhodes and asks if he wants to give their relationship a chance. He jokes, saying it's impossible because he's already a married man. Elsewhere, Bell tells Abby that he's decided to leave his job as a bodyguard, realizing it's too dangerous for anyone close to him. In the final scene, Paul is being driven away in a police car, but he believes he's in a limousine. He continues excitedly talking about honeymoon plans and asks to be dropped off at the Hilton, but the fantasy quickly fades as the reality hits him. The movie ends with Paul, consumed by his actions, breaking down in tears. What would you do if you found yourself trapped in a crazy situation like Sophia, with a delusional man thinking he's marrying you? Would you fight back or play along to survive? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think.